Welcome back to the Story Emporium. This week we have with us AC Goggin. Welcome, AC.
Thank you very much, Erin. It's great to be here.
I'm glad you could come. Where are you from?
I am from Hingham, Massachusetts, which is a little bit south of Boston, and nobody really knows where that is, so it's kind of near Quincy.
Okay, well they know now.
Yes.
So
I'm going to put Hingham on the map.
You have put Hingham on the map. Hingham, you say?
Hingham, yep.
Hingham, okay. And how long have you lived in Hingham?
I have lived in Hingham my entire life. My parents actually moved to Hingham so that I could be born into a house with space for a child.
So you were born in Hingham and you stayed in Hingham?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And is it country? Is it city?
It's suburban, so it's about 20 minutes outside of Boston. It's a pretty quick commute into Boston because I work in Boston. But it's pretty close. It's nice.
Okay. What is it that you do in Boston?
I work for a hotel during the night, actually, but I also work for a nonprofit in Boston, Boston Glow, which is Girls Leadership and Organized Women.
Very nice. And what do they do?
Basically, they do a whole bunch of different things. They run a lot of programming for girls and then older women. And I run most of their girls programming. So one of the primary things that I do is run an essay contest for girls in underfunded school systems in Boston to try and give them encouragement and different layers of mentorship so that they're connected with young adult authors like myself and some of my peers. They're connected with near-peer mentors is what we call them. So girls who are just a little bit older and either in college or successfully pursuing careers, and just give them different layers of mentorship.
Wow, that's a great organization. Now you volunteer doing this?
Yes, totally volunteer. I spend a lot of time doing it, but I am a board member for the organization. So
you volunteer and you work at the hotel?
Yes.
And you're a writer?
Yes.
Wow, you're a very busy girl.
I am, yeah.
I want to ask you, did you go to college?
I did, yep. I started off at Mount Holyoke in Western Mass, and I ended up doing a junior abroad and then transferring to the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. So that was a bit of a leap, but I totally fell in love with the country there, and I ended up doing a postgraduate program there. I got my master's in creative writing, and I actually hung around there for another year. I lived there for as long as I could swing it, and then came home to Boston.
What made you go to Scotland? Was it the college or just...
Actually, it's a really funny story because I always wanted to do a year abroad. I love traveling, and seeing the world through different perspectives, I think, is one of the coolest things you can do, especially as a writer, but certainly as, just a person in the world. And when I was a junior in high school, I did a homestay in Spain and got woefully sick, got placed with this family that didn't speak a word of English. There were about 15 people in this 2-bedroom house, and it was just one of the most hectic, overwhelming, insane experiences in my life. I went to this 15-hour Easter Mass where I had just gotten out of the hospital from being so sick, and it was just, the entire thing was miserable from beginning to end. And it was just, I never wanted to go to a country where I didn't speak the language. So from there I decided I could either go to Ireland or Scotland. And I got into a program in Scotland, and fate just, took it from there.
So you loved Scotland?
Loved Scotland, yeah. Still love Scotland. I make it back whenever I can.
I was going to say, do you plan on ever going back?
Absolutely. I would love to. They just have a very rich creative community there too. So I would love to be able in the future to spend more time there, or, even, God, fingers crossed, be able to, live there one day or have like an apartment there or something.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be crazy, but awesome.
Mm-hmm. So you took that creative life that you had in Scotland, you got this great degree, and you turned it into something that you planned to. You wrote a book.
Yes, yeah, and I really feel like, the cool thing about that creative, spirit in Scotland is it really gives you the permission to pursue a dream like writing, because it can be very unrealistic, and you don't always feel like you can do that. And it was something I wanted to do since I was a very, very little girl. But I never felt like in the US I really had that permission to just do something kind of crazy with my life. Pursue a creative career and, think about money later kind of thing. So
right.
Scotland really gave
Don't
it.
be foolish, right? Get a
Right.
job that pays money, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, absolutely. I had always thought that I would be a lawyer and then write on the side. So that wouldn't have been good.
That wouldn't work. That wouldn't work, going from that
No.
non-creative and then go home at night to be creative. That would
Exactly.
be tough. But you say that you wanted to write since you were little. So, and
Yes.
I do ask that question a lot of my authors, like, how did you know?
Well, actually, I just to, really impress upon you that this wasn't exaggeration. I do have proof that I wanted to be a writer.
Can you show us that proof?
Yes. This is something that I wrote.
Actually, I was going to say, can you show the camera?
This is something that I wrote when I was 9 years old, according to the date on it. And it says in very careful cursive, because I won a penmanship award as a child, and it was very important to me. I think that we are taught to write is because if you couldn't write, you would be lost in the world. Think what things go back to writing. Very important papers had to be written and signed to give America peace. How would we communicate if we never learned the alphabet? How would we live without letters? I rest my point. The lawyer thing was actually a viable option, apparently. I am not sure if just loving to write means that I'm a writer, but as far as I'm concerned, I am. So clearly this was something that took root at a very, very young age. And, finally one day I was able to pursue it, which is wonderful and quite literally a dream come true.
Right, so it was in you and you carried it through. I think that is a very honorable thing. A lot of
Thank
people
you.
say, I want to be a writer someday, and they never do.
Thank you. Well, it takes a lot of support, you know what I mean? Like your friends and family and just believing in yourself.
And did you have a lot of support in your family?
Yes, I did. My mom was always really funny about it because she was always sort of like, oh, yes, honey, of course you're going to be a writer, but have you thought about law school anymore? And she'll still ask me that occasionally. Like, we sort of think it's a joke.
Even though you have a book, you should still go to law school.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. In the acknowledgments of the book, I actually wrote that, for my mom, who thinks that this is both the most obvious thing in the world and still a little bit of a miracle. So, I think that's sort of the mother's perspective, is just she's always going to be counting on a backup plan and looking for that, surety that her daughter's going to succeed, but she believes in me more than anybody. So,
Right. And that's important when your parents believe in you.
Absolutely, yeah. And my dad's just incredible. I mean, he has always had such a love of words and books, and I think that was so deeply impressed upon me from a very young age. So, a lot of that magic comes from there.
That's great. And I noticed today that you did your book signing at the Story Emporium here, and you brought two of your family members, and they are very supportive as well.
Yes, I did.
What are their names?
Their names are Kevin and Michael, and they are my two brothers, older and younger, and they are the biggest supporters of this book. They have been, great cheerleaders from day one. They don't like the term cheerleaders.
Well, I could see why not.
Yeah, well, cheermen.
Chairmen, chairpersons.
Yes, chairpersons.
They could be your chairpersons.
That's very,
But
very PC.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are very supportive, I've noticed, and that's a great thing to have, because not everybody has that.
They are, especially because my older brother really understands social media a lot better than I do. So he's very good about making sure that it's, Facebooked and
Yes.
tweeted and all this sort of stuff. I don't, he's really good at it.
That helps to have somebody that knows how to do all
Yes.
that stuff. Definitely helps. Besides your dad, when you were growing up, did you have any other mentors that
I spent so much time, my mother actually worked in a bookstore when I was a child, and I spent so much time just sitting with these books and literally being surrounded by books and reading everything I could get my hands on. And I was so in love with, like, Tamora Pierce. I think you can actually see a lot of how much her books influenced me in Scarlet, because I think a lot of people already have been sort of saying to me, God, this is sort of like, Tamora Pierce's main characters. And I love that comparison. I think that's amazing. But I don't know if I quite deserve that yet. But she just wrote strong, awesome girls that could just, do their thing, take names, and go out and fight another day. They didn't need saving by anybody. There was no swooning. It was fantastic.
And I have to say, that follows your life. Here you are mentoring girls. to be heroines, to be, to be the strong ones. And in your novel, the strong girl comes out.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a great message you have going across to girls, because we're not all fairy princesses waiting for our.
Yeah, and I just think that too often, especially in my work doing with Glow, I've seen too often girls take this attitude of, our first year of the contest, we kept getting responses from people saying, I'm not going to win this, so why should I enter? Mm-hmm. And I'm not capable of that, why should I even bother? And I think girls are really taught this attitude from a very young age by our society, and it is so important for girls that have achieved success to take it back and go to their near peers and the young girls in their lives, and be able to take that message further.
Right, and the more girls gather around each other and give each other support, it seems the stronger that gets.
Absolutely. I mean, women are incredibly strong. I mean, just looking at, you can't be a mother without tremendous amount of strength. Like looking at my own mother, I have so many cousins, and just even within that family, I see all around me the strength of really incredible women, and that's amazing.
Right. Now, you've banded a group of authors together. Are they all women?
No, that's actually, and certainly not something of my doing. It's something that I'm a part of, the class of 2012. Mm-hmm. I believe it's the third class. I think it started maybe this one started in 2007. I believe Greg Fishbone, actually, who I believe has been to the Story Emporium, founded the first class.
Really?
Of debut authors that sort of group together and try and pool their resources to, make it on the map, because it's really difficult to get noticed as a debut author and to sort of get that, notoriety without a big publisher behind you. So it helps, and just having that support structure of other authors willing to say, oh yeah, this was my experience, or I have this answer to that question. There's a lot of things you kind of can't talk about to the public when you're, just publishing your first book.
Right, and I think that's great that a lot of authors are banding together now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
creating that support network is crucial.
Speaking of your debut novel, would you like to show it to us?
I would. This is Scarlet.
And what is Scarlet about?
Scarlet is a retelling of the Robin Hood legend. It's basically Robin, when he returns from the Crusades, goes to London and meets this girl, Scarlet, who's, just this really crafty thief. She's very mysterious. She's very, very withdrawn from society, to the point that everybody around her thinks that she's a boy. And she certainly allows this to go on because she has so many secrets that she needs to keep hidden from so many people that it helps. It keeps people at arm's length, and it just allows her to keep these secrets a little bit close. But of course, at the outset of the novel, she's going to land on some hot water, and somebody from her past, the thief taker, is going to come along and try and actually catch Robin Hood and the band, but in the meantime is putting Scarlet at severe risk of losing all the secrets she's been trying to keep for so long. So it's fun.
So it's a book of secrets, and we all love secrets and
it really
finding
is.
them out.
Scarlet has a lot of secrets that she wants to hold on to, but she also has people that she's willing to sacrifice the secrets for. So it's that, tension between those two.
Sounds like an excellent book. And when was it published? What was the publication date?
Valentine's Day 2012.
So that was like days ago.
Yes, it was. She's a brand new baby.
So I want to congratulate you on that.
She can barely open her eyes.
It's a beautiful cover.
I love this cover. I can't give enough credit to Bloomsbury and Walker and what they've done with the cover, because I literally can't take credit for it. They just did a wonderful, wonderful job of bringing her to life. So
would you like to give a shout out to your agent or anybody?
My agent is Minju Chang at Bookstop Literary Agency. She's awesome. Couldn't have done this without her.
That's great. And how did you go about getting an agent? Because I know it's hard.
It is, and I was actually I was trying to get an agent for 3 books before this. It took me about 3 years to, just cold querying. I don't know anybody in the business, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people say you've got to have connections or something like that, but it was never like that for me. Or at least that was certainly never something I had access to. So it was very much trying to make my work as professional and polished as it could be, and then sending it out on just cold queries. And with other books, I had some interest. I had some people who were willing to do like exclusive edits with me and stuff like that, and various steps. It seemed like I was moving in a positive direction, but I never got that yes. And Scarlet took me about 3 months to write, which was incredibly fast for me. And then
Yeah, that's really fast.
yeah, it really, really was. I mean, she has this very funny way of talking, and this voice was so alive in my head from the beginning. And when I started writing it, it just ran out of me like magic, and it was incredible. But I finished it right before Christmas in 2009, and about 3 weeks into 2010, I had an agent. I had a couple of agents interested in it, and then I signed with one of them.
It's amazing.
And about 5 months after that, I got the publishing deal with Walker, so it's really amazing.
And how did that feel? What did you do to celebrate?
Bawled in my car.
I was going to ask you if you cried, but I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, no, I cried like a baby. I had a meeting at my job, and I had to go to it, and my agent said, I have good news, call me after. And I was like, oh my God, I hope. But there are just so many near misses in this business. And I was just like, oh my God, please don't let this be another near miss, because I don't know if I can take it. But I was really hoping for good news, and I called her on the way home, and I'm like stuck in traffic in my really beaten up Corolla, and she told me that, actually 2 people had made an offer, but Bloomsbury had made a better one, and I just, I said, thank you, that's amazing, and I hung up on it.
So you had people bidding on your book?
It wasn't, it
people
didn't go,
making offers,
yeah, it didn't
right?
go into auction, but one person made an offer, and then Bloomsbury had made a better offer, so we just said, okay, we'll go with you.
That's so exciting. You had more than one offer.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely, a little ego boost.
Right? So if you wrote this in 3 months, how did you do it? Like, what was your writing schedule? You worked?
Yeah, I do. Because at that point I was not working where I currently am working. And I was working as a freelance writer, which did mean that I had a little bit more time. But I love to write at Panera. I don't know if
I can't write at Panera.
Fan?
I love to eat at Panera, but I can't write in public places. But so you're a public writer.
I love to write in public. I find it, the more things that are going on around me, the more I can just tune them all out and focus. Which was how I was in school, which was always very bizarre because you don't really have those places to study.
Right.
But that's what works for me. And I love Panera because they have like caffeine that's refillable, like magic. And there's all sorts of foodstuffs. If you get hungry, you don't have to like take too much time away to prepare something to eat. It just comes
right there
to
at your
you.
fingertips.
Yeah, exactly. It's also dangerous. Panera can be so caloric for some of their
Yes,
things.
they have lots of breads and lots of caloric
They have fantastic
foods.
tea, so I'll go with that. But and really good soup. I like their soup. But yeah, I love writing there, and it's a little bit tougher now that I work at this hotel and I don't get that much time off. But I manage.
So for 3 months, did you go there every day? I mean, how did you?
No, that was like pretty much I'd go there like once a week. And I'd try to write for about 6 or 7 hours straight. I'm definitely like a tunnel vision kind of writer.
Okay.
I like to key in and just write as long as I physically can and then go. And then I'll spend a lot of time, like one of my teachers in high school was so great about, she would assign for homework, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this subject. And everyone else thought that was just like, okay, that's we don't have homework tonight. But I loved her. I loved her so much. And so I would go home and I would think about things. And I find that as a writer, I go back to that all the time because in order to have these long blocks of writing, I need to spend the good part of the week thinking about the story and just sort of like going over the scene in my head, working it out and trying to play this out in my mind before I can actually get it down on paper. So it's sort of like mental practice, I guess.
So you do a lot in your head beforehand, and then you sit down and blast out hours.
Yes, absolutely. Because I love catching that flow and just going.
Right, and it's a good way because then you don't have to get back into it. Once you leave it, you have to, where was I? And you have to go back.
Exactly. I find that I do find that really interrupts the flow. But there has been a story that I've been working on in the past year that I can't write for very long periods of time. It's a very intense story, and I just can't sit there and work on it for a long period of time because it's just too dense. But that's the way the story's meant to be written, so...
Right, so it's just going to be a different style.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the book does dictate a lot. Scarlet definitely. I mean, if I could have had like 120 hours that I could have just written it, so I probably would have written it in like, 4 or 5 days, whatever that amounts to.
How many pages is Scarlet?
Just over 300. 304, I believe.
Okay. Wow. Well, congratulations on a fast novel.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any writing projects in your pocket now?
I do have some things. There are things that I'm working on, and there's one book I've been loving for the past year. It's contemporary. It's totally different. It's about like a teen girl in Boston and art. But so far, I haven't even gotten, my agent's looking at it, but there's no official projects yet. But I'm hoping for more projects soon. We'll see. There are things in the works.
Do you think you'll be able to be published with, who published that one? What was the publisher's
Bloomsbury Walker.
Bloomsbury.
Walker Books for Young Readers.
So do you think you'll be able to publish again with them, or?
I would certainly hope so, yeah. They have been wonderful from beginning to end, and I would love to be able to publish another book with them. So it would be truly my honor, so.
That'd be great. So you have one writing project you're doing, or do you have a couple floating around?
Oh, I always have about like 4 or 5 floating around. But yeah, I have 2 that I'm pretty serious about, so hopefully they'll shake out.
Okay, well, we'll cross your fingers for those.
Yeah.
We'll cross our fingers for those for you. Being such a well-read writer, you've read so many books, as you said, you've been around so many books. I have to ask you, what's your favorite word?
I have a lot of non-favorite words. For example, moist, I think, is one of the most horrible words in the English language.
Really?
It's just awful. Like, what is that?
It does sound yucky.
It doesn't roll off the tongue well. It's just weird. It doesn't evoke nice images. It's not good. But I love the word onomatopoeia, mostly because you can say it like that. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia.
You like to say that.
Onomatopoeia.
You say that very well. Wasn't that in a commercial? There was a girl in a spelling contest, I think. Onomatopoeia.
Was there? I feel like that's got to be a popular spelling contest word.
Yeah.
Just because it's, onomatopoeia.
It's a very nice word.
Yeah.
I'm going to be saying it all day now, thank you.
It's not a lot of occasion to say it, but
you slip it in when you can.
When you can fit in an onomatopoeia, it's a good day.
I'm going to try that from now on.
Yeah.
I ask all the authors that come to the Authors Clubhouse, what, if you could tell us, the Story Emporium, one deep, dark secret that nobody else knows, can we have an exclusive secret of yours that you would like to divulge to us?
Dark secret.
And it has to be that you couldn't have told anybody else. It has to be exclusive to us.
So I suppose it can't be that I killed someone when I was 6 years old or anything like that. That probably wouldn't be a good secret to tell.
No, that wouldn't be good to tell. But if you never told anybody, then yeah, we could take that.
That didn't happen.
That didn't really happen. I was going to say, if you don't have one, you could always make one up because you are a writer.
I think one probably, I don't know how good of a secret this is, but my father actually lives in a desanctified church, and there's an unfinished basement underneath it. And one time I went down in the unfinished basement and found, I think it was like a cat skeleton or something like that, and hightailed it out of there. And I don't know if that's a secret.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was scary.
I don't know how much of a secret it is.
Mostly because there are cats, like feral cats down there, and they make noises at night, and like if everything's quiet, you can
just creepy.
Hear like scratching sound. It's just bizarre.
Does the place still look like a church?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's a little creepy. It's cool. But there's a lot of like stained glass and, big wide open spaces, and it's nice.
That is very neat. So I have to say, this has been a very interesting interview. And I had a great time with you today. I hope you had a good time.
I did. I had a wonderful time.
Emporium here.
A wonderful shop here.
Thank you very much. And I do hope you come back, because once you become a member here, we sell your books here, you're always welcome to come back for signings. But I do have one more thing to ask of you, and that would be if you could sign our autograph book, All my authors
Absolutely.
sign this, and then give me a little message in there.
Okay.
Let me know how your stay was.
Thank
And
you
while
very
you're
much.
doing that, I will just turn my attention towards our audience, and I will say I'd like everyone to visit us next week. We have an interview with Deborah Bruss. She's a children's author. If you do know of an author or illustrator that you'd like to see here at the Story Emporium that we haven't had yet or is not on our schedule, please visit our website at thestoryemporium.org and give us an email. We'll do our best to get that person here because at the Story Emporium, as you know, all characters are welcome.